Hi there, a very warm welcome and a very good noon to you. And as you can see, we are meeting each other today to practice some para-jumble questions for CMAT. And what is that plus for? Well, para-jumbles are a part of every B school entrance exam, and in fact, a lot of other exams too. So banking, SSC, defense, God knows for what all sessions, what all exams para-jumbles are useful. And so that basically this plus indicates that whichever exam you're preparing for, this is a session that you will find useful. But because we are limiting it primarily to CMAT, it basically means that we'd go through those para-jumbles which are multiple choice questions. So you will have options available. So we'd not look at non-MCQs. That's the only thing that we need to basically be mindful of. That's about it. Otherwise, it's going to be just the same. So I welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep channel dedicated to your success as a B school aspirant. And my name is Vikrant. I've been teaching for a good 22 years now, where I have taught thousands and thousands of students and helped them achieve their goals. I act as your personal coach on this channel for all things related to English. So if you have any doubts, any issues, any concerns during the course of this session, please drop in a comment in the comment box down below, and I would love to handle as many of these queries as possible. We are working on para-jumbles today because some 11 days ago, I conducted a session where we had a couple of para-jumble questions, and I noticed that a lot of us were not entirely comfortable with it. Some of you also reached out and said that you want to have a session on para-jumbles so that you can master the approach that we generally use, or the approach that I generally advocate. So this session is in response to your demand. So let us go ahead and start. So what exactly is para-jumble? I think all of us already know it, but just in case we do not know, it is a question type where the examiner gives us a paragraph whose sentences are jumbled. The sentences are not in the right sequence or the right order. Our job is to figure out that correct order or that correct sequence, right? So how do we approach these questions? I took a session a little while ago where we talked about the basics, so I'm not going to dive deeper into that. In fact, I had a class with some of you yesterday where we talked about the approach in much greater detail. So let's just build on that. So I think of para-jumbles as similar to this particular question type. Now, you may look at it and you would say, sir, this is not para-jumble, that's a part of logic. And you'd be absolutely right. This is a logic question where you are supposed to arrange some persons, some individuals in a specific order, in a specific sequence. And in order to help you, the examiner goes on to give you a lot of clues. That's exactly how para-jumbles work. Okay. The only difference is that the clues are not given to you explicitly. The clues are not mentioned separately. You need to read the various sentences and identify or take out even those clues. So that's how it would typically work. That's how it typically helps us. Okay, so think of these as logic-driven questions where you're supposed to take out the clues and then solve them. So my approach is pretty straightforward. Read the entire paragraph, and when you read it, be on the lookout of the clues. Okay, so once you've identified those clues, use those clues to figure out some sort of sequence or mandatory pairs. And because in CMAT and in almost all the exams except for the CAT, these questions are multiple choice questions, use elimination approach. What it means is that pick up one clue, use that one clue to figure out some relationship. The moment you've figured out that relationship, go to the answer choices and start eliminating the options. So let us say you've managed to figure out that C and A must go together. So any option where C and A are not together can obviously be ruled out, can obviously be eliminated. Here is a bit of a warm-up. Imagine going through these three sentences. So if I read these, what does it say? In many of these trials, judges were called from all over the world to give their verdict. So the moment I see these, I have a question, okay, which trials? Okay, then second, after the war ended, which war are we talking about here? There were military trials held in Germany. Oh, so you notice military trials and these trials. So can I say these trials should come after military trials? Then the third sentence starts with but. But shows contrast. So I need to have a sentence which gives an opposite idea right before this one. Then many of them, whom, their, whose. So these are the kind of clues that we use to establish relationships. So for instance, in this case, I know, so if I were to label them as A, B and C, I know that A should come after B. And then this them in C refers to judges. So I also know that C should come after A. So I can arrange them as BAC. So this is exactly the kind of thought process that I want you to use throughout the course of this particular session. So let us dive into some practice. So here is your first question on the screen. When I get 4 answers, I will start the discussion. So go ahead and share your answers with me. Pranay, let us work on parajumbles together today. When it comes to sentence correction or error identification, I think it's partly, a significant part of it is knowledge, right? So you need to work on grammar. Four answers, guys, 4 answers. That's all that I need. Okay, guys, answers. I hope it's about time that I get some answers. Okay, so we have one answer from Sumit, another one from Aditya. What else? Okay, so C or D so far, A as well. Okay, so let us see. So let me focus on just one of these clues. And that clue that I am picking up is however. So you notice this. So let's focus on however. Now we know that however is used to show contrast. So however says this potential may not develop unless it is encouraged and stimulated by influences surrounding the child from birth. One more clue here is this pronoun, okay, this potential. Actually in this case it is more of an adjective, but this potential. So which potential are we talking about? So if you combine these two, you'd realize A says some people are born with greater possibilities or potential intelligence than others. So now, however, this potential, so you have that potential. So this potential obviously has to come after A. And if I combine it with however, I know that A has to be placed or put immediately before D. So we need to have A plus D. So option A does not have it, B no, C has it, D has it. So answer has to be either C or D. In both of these you have AD and you also have CB. The question is which part should come before? So CB should come before or AD should come before? So C is more of a general comment on intelligence. See, it is no longer thought that intelligence is a general quality underlying all behavior and inherited wholly from our parents. And then intelligence is improved by learning. So that is where this potential comes into picture. So it is better to put CB before AD. If you put AD first, then from D to C, there'll be a jarring note. the transition is not smooth. We have already stated in A and D that intelligence is improved by stimulating it. And then we are stating in C that, okay, it is no longer thought that intelligence is a general quality inherited wholly. A and D have already established that. So why would you talk about C now? And then why B afterwards? B should be put before A and D. And that is why our answer to this question should be option D and not option C. So transition from D to C does not make sense. Putting B after would once again not play any role in the context of this paragraph. So keep identifying these clues and picking those answers. So A it is. Option D it is. Okay, here is your next question. So make sure that you read, identify clues and then answer. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so B versus C, let us see. So I think it's very easy to figure out that sentence A and sentence C, both of them should come after D. Why? D talks about an electronic scanner. Now you notice C has the scanner, A has the super tag scanner. So obviously they should come after D. Any sentence where either A or C is placed before D can be eliminated. So notice option A is ruled out, B remains in contention, C remains in contention, D is also eliminated. So it's basically B versus C. So what is the difference between the two? DACB or DCAB? So let's try out B. So we are talking about an electronic scanner, then you can put in A, absolutely no problem with that. But then when you move from A to C, there is a problem. The problem is C says the scanner would have a double benefit for supermarkets, removing the bottleneck which causes frustration to most customers and reducing the number of checkout staffs. Now, if you have already mentioned A before C, then one of these benefits is stated. So if you put C after A, then you would merely like to mention another benefit. You would not say a double benefit, right? So the double benefit is you are able to remove the bottleneck and then you are also able to reduce the number of checkout staff. So if you put C after A, you don't have a transition, but if you put C before A, then you're talking about removing the bottleneck which causes frustration and reducing the number of checkout staffs. So now this bottleneck can be explained or elaborated upon in A. So CA is coherent, AC is not. And therefore, I'd go with DCA and that helps us choose C. Now, when you look at the sentence B, it makes no sense in this paragraph. Frankly speaking, it is talking about something different altogether. And whenever you see a sentence in a parajumble question that has no relationship to the rest of the sentences, you know, it has to come either at the beginning or at the end. So you don't have much of a choice, and therefore let's just go ahead and put it at the end. Additionally, another reason for me to put A here is that A is better connected with B in one specific aspect. If you focus on this part even more rapidly, change even more rapidly. Notice A is using the word revolutionize. So super tag scanner would revolutionize. The face of retailing will change even more rapidly. So there is further revolution happening, right? So B is also better connected with A, and that is why that's another reason for us to use DCAB, and thus option C it is. Okay, here comes the next question on the screen. Some of us may be a tad bit uncomfortable with the language, but let's try it. Let us see. Sorry, ma'am. The changing weather and the pollution gives me sniffles on certain days. See when I get the answers. Okay. So Ashmita has shared one answer. Okay. All right. So here is my take now. This is a question that a lot of people get wrong because they have a tendency to look for the opening sentence. And that's something that I don't recommend, that I don't advise. You notice I advised you to just go ahead and work on the basis of the clues. So what are the clues? You notice B starts with or, so or is used to provide a choice or another option. Then it also has they. D has this. This can be very confusing. So let's use these clues. So first up, the they in B refers to the people mentioned in A. And even in terms of ideas, B can, if you want to justify the use of or at the beginning of B, you need to put in A. So abstract art can also make people uneasy because they do not automatically know what the art is about just by a cursory glance. Or they assume that because it does not look like anything, then it is not about anything. You notice this about connection also tells you that we are talking about an option or a choice of that same area. So A and B is one mandatory pair. Then let's look at this in D. What does it refer to? This can be very confusing. What can be very confusing? So the only thing you can either have AD or you can have CD. But then if I use AD, I'll have no place for B. So A has to come before B, otherwise it won't make sense, right? So AD is ruled out. The only other option then that we are left with is CD. When you use CD, then you're referring to there is nothing to grasp or hold on to. This can be very confusing. So we are referring to this fact or this statement. So my answer needs to have CD, my answer needs to have AB. The only option that gives me both of these pairs is option A. Why do people get it wrong? People at times get it wrong because they look at option A and they see this, they look at sentence A and they notice this also. And because it has this also, they think that, okay, this can't be the opening. And therefore they rule out option A. But then, hey, we don't think of the opening sentence, right? Because when we think of an opening sentence, the examiner can make us make a mistake, force us into making a mistake by giving you a very unusual opening of that paragraph. So don't fall into that trap. You better than that. Okay. So A it is. Here comes your next question. Question number 4 on your screen. What's your answer? Wow, good question. Let's see. Okay. So I have 2 answers so far. Crazy Ajay and Mohan. Arjun has also shared his answer. 4th one from Anukriti and 5th one from Priya. Fabulous, guys. Fabulous. So far the answer that I've received is A, and I happen to agree with it. If all of us have the same notion, if we believe A is right, then we can move over to the next one. In case you happen to have a different take, do tell me. Otherwise, the clues that I have used are D. This can lead to communal feelings. What? The idea is mentioned in A. So you need to have A plus D. Then C has thus the term communalism. So number 1, it is a conclusion. Number 2, D is the one that acts as a premise for C. So we needed to have ADC. ADC is available in option A and option B. Now the only thing that we were thinking about was the placement of B, and I think all of you have put it at the beginning, which is the right place for it. So we can move over to the next one now. Here is your question number 5. What's your take? So anybody who uses clues along with ideas, so word-based clues as well as ideas of various sentences, you should be able to answer this rather easily. If you don't look at the ideas in a sentence, it's only then that it may have an issue. Okay. Loads and loads of C's, and that indeed is going to be the correct answer. Absolutely spot on. You guys are rocking today. Mohan, I think if you look at it, we just needed to focus on these 2 things. For example gives you an example. What is the purpose of an example? The purpose of an example is to explain a point or to give you some supporting evidence by the way of an example. So if you look at C, C is an example of B. We are talking about BC. So we're talking about, you notice, coastal oil rigs, refineries involving in accidents. So C talks about places where accidents happen, and then A is natural disaster. So D is talking about natural calamities, and that's what made it really easy. Okay, sixth on your screen, what's your answer? Oh, Ian, absolutely. Yeah. I think actually, because the session was primarily for CMAT, I had to keep the difficulty level consistent with the exam. The paper does not give you questions which are very difficult. So I'm just staying true to that. Maybe another couple of weeks we'd have another session where we talk about the CAT. That's when we can jack up the difficulty level. And AN Achyut, don't worry. I can autocorrect, okay? So don't worry. Wow, Ariba, that's quick. Huh? You solved it really fast. I don't know whether that is right or not, but it's definitely fast. Okay, all right. So we have 4 answers so far. That makes it 6. Okay, so let's start with the question. These fields in the countryside, where is the noun for it? The only place where you have a noun for it is sentence C. So can I say that we need to have this? So you have it in B, you have it in D, you do not have it in A and C. So that sadly needs to be, so A and C need to be ruled out. So that leaves you with B and D. Which one of the two? So if I look at the idea in B, there is a new buzz in towns and cities in Great Britain. So we are talking about the urban areas. So what is that buzz? You notice there are times when you use an introductory sentence to grab the attention of the reader. So this is one of those sentences. But then how beautifully it relates to the rest of the paragraph where we're talking about beekeeping. So there is a new buzz. What is that buzz? Beekeeping, or the buzz is caused by beekeeping, has become a fashionable hobby for those who live and work in the city. So you notice urban areas. So you need to have BD. And that is why option B is going to be the best answer for us. So buzz in towns and cities, what is that buzz? Beekeeping has been taken up by a lot of people. It is considered fashionable. After that, you can put in CA. So there is no transitional expression in C. If I were writing it, I'd probably use a transitional expression, but then even otherwise, they cannot come before B and D. So therefore, we can opt for option B. Okay, here is your next question. Question number 7. A fair sprinkling of transitional expressions. Guys, a lot of clues. When I see a lot of clues, especially a lot of transitional expressions, I personally find those questions easy. Let us see what you do with this. Let's see. Okay. Yes, absolutely, Rajeshwari, we can. There is no rule that says that we cannot do that. You can absolutely do that. Okay, so let's pick it up now. We have a lot of answers, so let us start our discussion. So what do I have? Let me look at the clues. New research, however, has found that bilingual children speak their first 50 words and so on at the same as children who only speak one language. Okay. B is talking about a particular fear that people have. Furthermore, shows continuation. There is no evidence that children confuse the two languages. And then D, in addition, there were fears that bilingual children would become confused in their use of language. So now start combining. See, B is talking about a fear. D is also talking about some more fears. And then it uses in addition. So it has to be put immediately after B. So you need to have BD. And there is only one option that has BD, and that's D. So that should be the answer. But even then, if you move further, A starts with however. So we have this fear that they'd become confused. But what does A tell you? That the fears are basically unjustified, right? So you cannot use C immediately afterwards because furthermore shows continuation. So C also in a way contradicts the ideas mentioned in B and D. A, with the help of however, introduces that contrast, after which you can also write C. So BDAC, right? Here is your next question on the screen. Chotu sawal, but it has a very important lesson for us. So let us see. Let's see what you choose here. Okay, the answers are rolling in. So, what do I do with it? If you do not give me options, then I'll simply treat it as a narrative structure where I know that C has to come at the beginning. So, first glimpse of the temple. And when you look at the first glimpse, what do you notice? It's only the first glance that tells you that it was an ancient structure and there were walls covered with moss. After that, you'll go to B. So you have a structure. Now you reach the entrance and you look in amazement. And what do you see there? It's only when you stand at the door, you'd see a courtyard enclosed, the little room where the deity was kept. So if you give me a choice, I will arrange them as C, D, B, A. But the problem is we do not even have C, D, B, A as one of the answers. It means that we need to deviate somewhere. So where do I deviate? So I think at the end of the day, it will boil the choice will be between B and D for us. Okay, so these are the two that we'd look at. So C, B, but then C and B is fine. Okay, first glimpse of the temple, then stood at the entrance. But now when you are standing at the entrance, you will not see the external walls. You would not have that overarching view of the temple. So D after B does not make sense. So I'd prefer C, D together. And after that, AB or BA I obviously would put in BA, but then since I don't have that, I can go with AB. So let's choose option B. Kunal says, what if in exam the question gets wrong, as in you get the question wrong or the examiner has designed a question that was wrong? So I think, so I told you that it's a small question, but with a very important lesson. The lesson is the best sequence to arrange those sentences may not even be present in the options. And therefore, when you are solving multiple choice questions, rely on the answer choices. Use a lot of elimination, and that should go on and help. Rajeshwari, I think I've already told you that you see when you look at a structure from a distance, that you look at the structure in its entirety. If you're standing at the entrance of someone's house, will you be able to look at the entire structure? Will you be able to see the external walls? Will you be able to see that it is an ancient structure? So that is why D has to come before A and B. And normally, and AB is still okay, that okay, you looked at it, and a courtyard enclosed the little room where the deity was kept can still work. And in B, now this door, now this entrance can actually also be interpreted as the entrance of that little room. So CDAB is still justified where when I arrange it as AB, it becomes the entrance of that little room, but BD won't really work. Okay. So here comes the next question. Question number 9 on your screen. Let us see what you answer. This question has a grammar based clue or a vocabulary based clue that can make it very easy. So grammar and vocabulary dominant parajumble. Kaushal, Nana Rajeshwari, you are supposed to choose the best option among the given ones. So B is the best option. CDBA is the best sequence, no doubt about it, but then it is not even available in the options, right? So option B was the next best way, the superior to D. Then if you're preparing for CMAT now, yeah, Kaushal, I don't know. It all depends on the level at which you are right now, but you should have absolutely no hesitation in your mind. Start today and give it your best. That's all that we can do. So even if you're working, make it a point to devote 20 to 25 hours every week. If possible, take leave. Take leave from work, and hopefully that should help. Okay, so the answers are rolling in. So I have quite a few answers so far. Okay, let us see. Some more people are thinking. So let's see. Give me some more answers, guys. Okay. All right, so the correct answer here is option B. Now let us see why. There are a couple of things that I can talk about. The first one is presently. Now presently does not mean right now. Okay, presently means immediate future. So presently talks about future, it does not talk about present. Though it talks about immediate future, something that is going to happen in the next 1 or 2 minutes is used as presently. So for example, if I say that, okay, stay ready, I am going to throw this marker towards you very soon. So instead of very soon, I'd say, okay, stay ready, I am going to throw this clicker towards you presently, this marker towards you presently. So presently means very soon, within the next minute or two. Okay, so there has to be something that was happening, and a little while later, Ben Rogers came into view. So you notice that? So that's one connection. Second, look at sentence B. Sentence B says Ben Rogers. Sentence A says Ben. Sentence C says Ben. So can I say that B should come before A and D? So any option, sorry, A and C, my bad, A and C. So A is ruled out. Look at B. C before B, rule out. Look at D. C before B, let's rule it out. So you'd be left with B. Another thing is presently, yet another clue is paid no attention to Ben. Ben has to enter first. You notice? Ben has to come into view first. It's only then that you'd say some other person paid no attention to him. Yet another reason for C to come after B. So a lot of us are falling into the trap of looking for the opening sentence. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. Boss EFX, यार ये free class ही तो है. अच्छा काम करते हैं ना. Okay, so far I gave you a lot of questions where I asked you to arrange 4 sentences in a sequence, but then the examiner can also give you a 5-sentence type parajumble where you are supposed to arrange 5 sentences. The only difference is it becomes lengthier, but then one more sentence means some extra clues as well. So that can help. So here is a 5-sentence type parajumble for you. Tricky, right? I think I trapped a lot of you when it comes to 9th, and I hope I've been able to tell you. Notice Ben Rogers versus Ben, coming into view versus ignoring. Okay, 10th, 5-sentence type. Please start and share your answer. Make sure that you eliminate. Focus more on elimination. Guys, if the session is useful, if you think you are deriving some benefit from it, you learning something from it, in that case, and only in that case, okay, if you think it is not providing value, then don't do that. But in that case, do like the session. And of course, it goes without saying that you're supposed to subscribe to the channel. What is our take on question number 10? We've reached double digits very soon. This requires a bit of GK, not the kinds that gets tested in the exam, a bit of understanding of culture, and you would see. Okay, so let's start. You remember the story of Cinderella? Cinderella, there was a girl called Ella. She used to dust. Her stepmother along with 2 of her stepsisters lived with her in the house, and they made her do all the work, and that is why she was always covered in dust and soot. She was covered in cinders, so she was eventually called Cinderella. But then fairy godmother transformed her, gave her fancy clothes. So you notice transformation. Pretty woman. An ordinary woman suddenly wore fancier clothes and she transformed. These are, I mean, Cinderella is a story that I think most of us know. Pretty Woman is a movie that a lot of you must have watched. And the same thing goes for My Fair Lady. Grease is another movie. So all of these movies, even if you know a couple of them, you know that these are all stories where people's look got transformed. So that is where E is connected to A. Look at this. The thrill of transformation has always been part of the power of clothes. Now, whatever is given in E is actually an example of that. Always been. So look at Cinderella, such an old story. And right from that to the contemporary era, Pretty Woman, Grease. Not exactly contemporary for you guys, but you get the drift. The magic of a radical new look is ingrained in our culture. So that's what connects A and E with each other. Then another thing that I want you to look at is B, but that was more innocent age. Before we understood that we were running up a carbon tab, we would never be able to pay off. So carbon tab is when you keep buying new and new things and discarding the old. Every new thing requires manufacturing, which requires energy, which requires these carbon dioxide being released into the air. So when you keep moving over to new and new things, you leave a larger carbon footprint. So that's what is being talked about. And then but. So prior to but, we need to talk about such actions where people were changing things rather rapidly. So where were things being changed? Okay, this lure of newness can make you change things. And then you notice this top shop, shop floor every weekend to find out what look was new for Saturday night. So C and D combined need to come before B. I'm not commenting on their sequence right now, but B should come after these two. These two are provide the contrast. So if we combine these two things, I think the only option that we can pick up is option C. Once again, a lot of us may have eliminated C by looking at this and at the beginning of A and thinking that, oh, starts with and can't be an opening. Dude, there is no formula. I have done that twice in this session today, where I started a paragraph with an unusual opening, and the moment I did that, a lot of us fell for it. I'd once again reiterate, do not worry about the opening. Just look at the clues and the connections. The paragraph will resolve itself. The question will answer itself. Okay? So, but otherwise a little tricky. And then let me introduce you to one more variety. It's called the 6 sentence type parajumbles, where the first and the 6th sentence is fixed, but the middle 4 are floating. So that is another variety that you can get in the exam, and thus you need to be comfortable with this as well. So why don't you go ahead and give a shot at question number 11, and we'll see if it is useful, if it helps. Ooh. Oh, I think this question is taking us longer, huh? Okay, so let us see. If I look at the clues, B says these horrifying creatures have given their name to patent trolls. So these horrifying creatures needs to come immediately after first. So you need to have 1 plus B, which means that option D is eliminated. Then look at 6th. Maybe second time is the charm. Where are we talking about the second time? Look at D, having tried once with the America Invents Act of 2011, Congress is having another go. and that another go is the Innovation Act, which looks set to become law. So maybe second time is the charm. So you need to have DC6, and only C, option C gives you DC towards the end, and therefore that should be the answer. Okay, so that's what I brought for you today when it comes to Parajumbles. If you enjoyed the session, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And here is a thought for you. Throughout this session, I told you to be logical, right? So drama starts when logic ends, where logic ends. So life में देखो यार, तुम्हारी अगर ड्रामा ज्यादा हो गया है तो सोचना कहीं लॉजिक कम तो नहीं चल रहा. हाँ, तो ड्रामा कम करो, लॉजिक बढ़ाओ, and that should help. And you can practice more of these questions by attempting these daily section quizzes that we upload on our app. So if you haven't installed our app yet, please make sure that you do that, and there you can practice a lot more questions. Additionally, we have a 100 most expected Maharashtra CET question series going on today. Going on from, actually started on 6th of March. Even today, we have a session at 3 p.m. where Gaurav sir will talk about LR. And those of you who are writing CMAT, at 9 p.m. we'll have a session on CMAT GK as well. So make sure that you turn up for those sessions too if they are relevant for you. Additionally, those of you who are just about starting your preparation, if you want to get a deep dive into the world of VARC, I am taking a session on 14th of March at 7 p.m. on our app. Make sure that you register for it and attend it if this is once again something relevant for you. And since we are talking about CAT 23, we have a new batches available. There are limited seats, so you need to hurry. Limited seats because, you know, a faculty member can only cater to a certain number of students, act as mentor to a certain number of people in every batch. So make sure that you do that soon. And as you can see, there are loads and loads of features here. And to make it easier for you to join us, we have a scholarship test happening on 18th of March. Make sure that you do spread the word around so that others can, your loved ones, your friends, your family can benefit from it. So that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you guys once again really soon. And the links for those sectional quizzes, etc. are available in the comment box as well. Okay. So if you click those, they'll take you to the relevant place straight away. Right. So that's it from me. Take care and I'll see you soon.